Now, from Sports Radio 810 WHB, it's the Border Patrol on 38 The Spot.
It's showtime!
Now, on Sports Radio 810 WHB, Walker Medical Linen Services, delivering premium products, seamless service, and guaranteed cost savings to the medical industry. And Coventry Healthcare, your great local health insurance plan, proudly present The Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty.
Welcome back to the Border Patrol live on Sports Radio 810 WHB and on 38 The Spot. Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty in studio. We also have Aaron Swartz and Jake Gutierrez actually running the show. This hour of the show brought to you by Gales Harley Davidson. Check them out online, feelthepower.com. Gales Harley Davidson, where every day is an excuse to have fun. Let's talk to Kansas head football coach Charlie Weis, who joins us every Friday. Good morning, Coach. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Doing very well. Before we get into football, I wanted to ask you something about, obviously it's November 22nd, and this is the 50th anniversary of the JFK assassination. So I've been asking people this all week. Since you were alive when it happened, you were a little boy. Do you remember that day, or do you remember anything about November 22nd?
I remember I was in second grade. I was in Mrs. Udisky's class in room 10 of Central School, and I remember them coming in and telling us, you know, that school was going to be being closed, and went home and didn't really understand what was happening. And my mother sat down and told us what happened. I remember. I can tell you, do, even though it was second grade, I do remember that happening.
My dad tells, you know, I think my dad talks a lot about that moment too, and myself coming from a Catholic family, I mean, obviously the president being shot it shook the whole country, so not just Catholics or anything like that, but he was the first ever Catholic president as well. I know you're from a Catholic family. Did you guys have many conversations just about the whole thing? Do you remember many of the conversations you had as a family when it happened?
I remember before it happened, like when he had run for president. I remember my father, you know, my father and mother were big JFK fans, and explaining to him that this was how unusual it was that a Catholic that had been picked president, you know, been picked president of the United States. And you know, I remember that's earlier than even second grade now, so I don't remember all those conversations. But I remember the fact that my parents tell me how unusual it was that this guy had this young guy who was president, you know, was Catholic too.
Charlie Weis is our guest. All right, Coach, let's move on to football now. You get the win last week over West Virginia, and we saw what the scene was on the field after the game with everyone celebrating. What was the locker room like?
Well, I described it multiple times to people that by the time I get in there, you know, it's well after most of them are in there, you know, and when I get in there, normally they're on a knee waiting for me to say the chain prayer, and then I talk to them about the game, you know, especially if, you know, we've been used to losing so often. That's kind of been the standard, you know, ritual. But now I walked in there, they're all standing there just waiting to maul me when I walk in there, and I mean, it was really pure joy. You know, like kids on Christmas morning. I mean, to look at those kids' faces, it was just, you know, I really, you know, as a coach, you get kind of cynical about several things, but looking into people's faces and seeing that pure joy is a very uplifting experience.
What about the week in practice since then? Have you noticed the win itself making a difference in the way the kids have approached things this week?
Well, there's two things. Obviously, practices have been more upbeat just because of that burden that's been lifted off their shoulders. But the flip side of that is also giving the coaches an opportunity to crank it up some too, because when guys feel better about themselves, it's a lot easier to get on them because they're a lot more receptive because there's a lot more pep in their step.
We're visiting with Kansas football coach Charlie Weis. All right, now you get ready for this road game against Iowa State, and I'm looking at the weather, Coach. It's calling for 16 degrees by the time kickoff rolls around. Wind chill's down around 0. I don't know if you're aware, but it's usually pretty darn windy in Ames, Iowa. That made me think, what's maybe the coldest game you ever remember coaching in?
Oh, it's clearly it was a semifinal game against Tennessee Titans on a Saturday night in Foxborough. We won 17-14, but the temperature at kickoff was minus 13.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't remember the wind chill and everything. I just remember how bad it was that day. But, we addressed this weather that you're talking about, we addressed this on Tuesday. I told him, Nate, I follow this weather stuff, and I told him the whole pattern both in Lawrence and in Ames for the week. I said that neither one of us is really going to practice in bitter cold weather because the cold front wasn't coming in until Friday, which is in both places, both there and here. It's going to be a little warmer here, but it's going to be in the 30s here, too. And I said that by kickoff, it's going to be in the mid to low teens, and it's going to go down in the single digits. Now, unusually now, the wind's should be decreasing. So Ames, which has been known to be kind of a wind tunnel, I think that by kickoff it'd probably be no more than 10-mile-an-hour wind, and that is actually a pretty calm, pretty calm element. So it'll be cold. We know it's going to be cold, but we just addressed it Tuesday and said that's the last time I really want to be discussing how cold it's going to be.
Well, Coach, when you've got the cold weather to deal with, it's always good to be able to run the football, and that's exactly what James Sims did against West Virginia. 22 carries for 211 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just tell me more about that performance and your game plan to, I'm sure, run the heck out of the football on Saturday.
Well, with Montel at quarterback, what it does some is kind of takes a little of the pressure off of James because now they got to worry about whether James is carrying it or Montel's carrying it. And I think that that opened up some opportunities. Montel threw in an extra 60 yards too, but James was running seemed like on a mission. Not only did the offensive line and everyone block for him well, but when he was finishing runs like at no time I've seen this year. Like he had that one long one up the left sideline, and at the end of the run, instead of running out of bounds, he threw he lays an uppercut, forearm into the defender, who knocks one defender into another defender, and the other defender gets knocked out. I mean, that shows you a guy that instead of running out of bounds at the end of a long run tired, he's trying to get those extra yards and play with physicality.
Hey, and Montel's undefeated as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, maybe you should just retire now. Yeah. Then you can retire undefeated, right?
Yeah. Or get one on the road, then retire. But how much in the short period of time since he came in and got those first snaps partway through the game against Oklahoma to where he is now, how much progress has he made, maybe mentally, all that, in that short period of time?
Well, I mean, everyone wants you just to put him in there and just play him, and I think that the way we did it was, we had a thought methodology in place where, that we were gonna ease him into it, and when he was ready, we felt that he was ready to handle the team, that's when we figured we'd put him in there, and I think he's ready to handle the team. Now it's not going to be perfect. But what freshman quarterback is perfect? But I think that by now, the players have a lot of confidence in him, and the command in the huddles has gotten much improved. Jake has worked with him tremendously on, having a greater presence in the huddle and everything. So I think he's much more suited to be a starter now than he was at any time earlier in the year.
Coach, you, despite the win and despite the fact that Iowa State's 0-7 in the league, you guys came out as underdogs in this game coming up. Do you use that as motivation at all with your kids?
Well, I do address it with them. But just don't think that because you beat West Virginia, all of a sudden everyone respects you, because they obviously don't. But let's look at it from the flip side of it. Iowa State's a tough football team. They're playing at home. It's senior night. Okay, it's going to be a raucous crowd. They've lost a couple heartbreakers at home. They've been very competitive in several games this year, but they get shafted a little bit in the Texas game. They lose a heartbreaker to TCU. I mean, playing at home, they're really tough. They play even tougher than they do when they're on the road. And let's not forget, a year ago, at the end of the year, we're feeling pretty good about our chances of beating Iowa State, and they came in here and whooped us. So all those elements give the naysayers the reason to consider us underdogs, and you can understand why. But I don't get into the underdog element too much, other than the fact that respect is something you have to earn. Respect isn't something you're given; you have to earn it.
You mentioned that game last year. They ruined your senior day in that regard. So do you use that as motivation, a chance to pay them back?
It's been broached more than once. That subject has come up multiple times.
Hey, Coach, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you about the 19 players on the Big 12 All-Academic team tied with Oklahoma for the most in the conference, because, look, not only did you have to come in here and try to rebuild this team on the field, but also rebuild this program in the classroom, so I'm sure that you're quite happy with that.
Yeah, I'm proud of what the players have done. Now, this is 2 years in a row now we've been either first or tied for first in academics. In the both years that I've been here, I've been very, encouraged by the mentality of the players, realize the importance of academics. I just think that, I think that when the players think that you just come to play football, you kind of miss the whole point of what you're supposed to be getting, but when you're getting this education. People think that getting a scholarship, you go to school for nothing. And you don't pay any money, but it's not for nothing. I mean, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. And the number one thing they better get by the time they walk out of the door is a quality education and a degree that can help them get a job when they get done playing football.
Coach, congratulations on that. Congratulations on the win last week, and best of luck up in Ames tomorrow night.
All right. Take care.
Thank you very much, Coach. It's Charlie Weis, joins us every Friday right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot.
You're listening to the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol. The Border Patrol.
Welcome back to the show. This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thanks for joining us. Stephen St. John and Nate Bucati. You're also watching on 38 The Spot. Thank you to Charlie Weis for coming on the show. We appreciate it. Now, let's talk some more college football. A couple of big matchups coming up tomorrow. We'll start first with the early game, gentlemen. 11 a.m. right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, and also you can watch it on Fox Sports 1. Oklahoma, number 20 Oklahoma at Kansas State. Oklahoma comes into the game 8-2. Overall, 5-2 in the Big 12. K-State 6-4, 4-3 in the Big 12. And Bill Snyder talked about Oklahoma this week with the media and talks about the ground game and the multiple ways they can move the ball on the ground.
They play to their personnel. I think they do a nice job of that, both offensively and defensively. They do what their personnel can do. They're having, two quarterbacks that can run the ball pretty well. The quarterback run into option type stuff that has become, a little more prolific in their offense as well. And they've got, a stable of back, and they're all upperclassmen experience.
In their last game, the win over Iowa State 48-10, Oklahoma ran the football for 405 yards. Mm-hmm. Yow. Williams had 10 carries, 128 yards. But Knight, you talk about the quarterback running the football, 10 carries for 123. Also, Clay had 7 carries for 86 yards, 44 carries for 405 yards. averaging 9.2 yards per carry. Didn't throw the ball too well. Didn't need to, though. When you run the ball for 400 yards, that's the key. Stop the run and see what happens.
Yeah, Oklahoma is going to be without 3 starters on offense.
Right.
Blake Bell, Damian Williams, and the Colton Bester. Bell with the concussion, the other 2 because of a suspension for unknown reasons. But I'm not sure that it's a step back for Oklahoma to go from Blake Bell to Trevor Knight. Knight was the starter at the beginning of the year, lost his job, but he's a freshman. I mean, the odds are he's gotten a lot better from those first couple of starts to where he is now. And I am not the biggest Blake Bell fan. I mean, Bell was, to me, he was a poor man's Colin Klein. Big and strong and could run forward, was not very mobile in the pocket, and not a great passer. Okay, but not great. So I don't know how much of a step back that is for Oklahoma. The whole key for K-State, like you said, is going to be to stop the run. They can slow the run down. They've got a great chance of winning the game and winning the game handily.
K-State coming off that tight win over TCU, 33-31, and obviously they're going to want to run the football as well against Oklahoma. Only 154 yards though against TCU. Very good defense. 35 carries, 154 yards, but threw the football for 257. Waters 10 of 24, but had 234 yards. 2 touchdowns, so maybe throwing the football downfield, trying to lose things up against Oklahoma. We'll see. It should be an excellent matchup. Always entertaining to watch Kansas State take on Oklahoma. I've always enjoyed watching those games over the years.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's really unfortunate, the injury to Ty Zimmerman. If his season really is over, that's just really sad news. And I think that's a big loss for K-State. So that'll be a key, too, is how they cover that.
Well, that's what I like. I like these games spread out over the day so I can enjoy nothing but good college football. And that starts at 11 a.m., remember, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Now, another really, really big game. Tomorrow night, 6:45 on ESPN, the Missouri Tigers travel to Ole Miss in a huge game. Again, it's all in front of Missouri. They control their own destiny. They win these next 2 games against Ole Miss and then against Texas A&M. Then they will be in the SEC championship game against either Alabama or Auburn. But that's a pretty tall task to win at Ole Miss and then home against Texas A&M. They will certainly have earned the SEC East title if they can pull this off, and so we'll see what happens. But Ole Miss comes into the game. They're ranked 24th. They're 7-3, 3-3 overall. Missouri number 8, 9-1, and 5-1 in the conference. And when you look lately at what Ole Miss has done, they started off 3-0. Remember, they had the shootout win at Vandy. And then when Texas was struggling, they hammered Texas in Austin 44-23. Then they lost 3 in a row. 25-0 at Alabama. I don't care. Anywhere you play Alabama, you lose. I kind of just write that off. You can't judge a team by losing to Alabama because Alabama seems to be on a different level than everyone else. But at Auburn, they lost by 8, 30-22. Home against A&M. Lost a shootout 41-38. Since then, they haven't lost 4 in a row. Now, the competition has been questionable in that 4-game winning streak. Home against LSU, nothing questionable about that. Great win. They won 27-24. But then Idaho, Arkansas, and Troy. And they had their problems with Arkansas. And it was a home game against Arkansas, and they only won 34-24. And I watched some of that game while I was watching Mizzou play Kentucky. And Arkansas gave them a handful. So we'll see what happens on Saturday night, but I'm quite sure they'll be geared up. They're going to be fired up. It's a big game, primetime national TV with a top 10 team coming to town. But Gary Pinkel talked this week a little bit about the struggles Missouri went through last year. And by this time last year, they were just playing out the season. And Missouri fans wanted the season to be over because it was not pretty. Remember that last game last year against Texas A&M? That was embarrassing. But Gary Pinkel says that last year's struggles have really helped this team succeed.
Well, yeah, I think there's a drive there. I mean, we're used to winning here, and to have a year like that, and then also be criticized, for can't play in the SEC, not good enough to be in the SEC, all the things that went with that, and that's understandable. A lot of people will take that approach, and I can see that. So I think it starts with seniors, but there's without a question there's the extra drive these guys have. They're responsible for Mizzou football, and getting us back down where we should be. And so I think there's no question about it. These guys are driven, and that's part of it. And they're also just very, very competitive.
If Missouri wins this game, it will be their 4th 10-win season in the past 7 years. So you'll take that. 12 wins in 07, 10 wins in 08, 10 wins in 2010. The other 3 seasons, they won 8 in 09, 8 in 2011. Then they had the 5-7 season in 2012. But 4 10-win seasons out of 7 would be pretty damn good for Gary Pinkel and the Missouri Tigers, and they will accomplish that with a win against Ole Miss.
Well, and it seems like the narrative's changed now, too, from can't play in the SEC to now I'm hearing this week, well, they don't know what it's like to play against the SEC West. Now they're going to have to find out over the next couple games what it's like to play against the SEC. That's the real SEC. You guys have just been playing in the SEC light so far.
You shut up.
So now you're going to get the real taste.
Are you saying that or someone else?
Didn't the
Harry Harrison
say that?
Before we break, will you just play Mississippi Gentleman? And then I won't ask you anything else. I just want to hear Borat say Mississippi Gentleman, and then we'll go to your precious.
Because you don't know what
break.
it's like to play against a powerhouse, SEC team that's like Ole Miss and all the national title banners they've hung.
Let's hear it.
Yekshemash. In USA, very rich people like to drink a wine. It is like a Kazaki wine, but not made from fermented horse's urine. I go to meet Mississippi Gentleman to find more. Check-we.
All the Missouri fans going to Ole Miss, there's a lot of them. They're going to find Mississippi Gentlemen.
Yeah, there's going to be all kinds of them there.
Harry Harrison seemed like a Mississippi gentleman.
Yeah. Go to the Grove.
Very high on his team. But hey, we all are, aren't we?
Sure.
Thank you. Back after this on WHB and 38 The Spot.
You're listening to the Border Patrol.
Here's Aaron Swartz here with your bottom of the hour update. The Chiefs enter Sunday's game against the Chargers with a patched-up offensive line. John Osimo and Eric Fisher both sat out yesterday. Metcalf Bank Chiefs pregame show comes your way 9 o'clock a.m. Sunday. Missouri Tigers have a tough test when they head to Oxford to take on the Ole Miss Rebs tomorrow night at 6:45 on ESPN. Also in basketball action tomorrow versus Gardner-Webb at 2:45. K-State hosts Oklahoma at 11 tomorrow right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The game also on Fox Sports 1. On the basketball court today at 11 in Puerto Rico against Georgetown. You can hear it on ESPN 1510. Kansas looks to make it back-to-back wins at Iowa State at 7 on Fox Sports 1 tomorrow night. On the court tonight against Towson at 7. And Sporting Kansas City looks ahead of the MLS Cup with a win over Houston tomorrow night at 7. You can hear the game right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Watch it on NBC. I'm Aaron Swartz on 38 The Spot and Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Welcome back to the Border Patrol live on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot. Right now we're going to talk NFL football with Sean Salisbury. Follow him on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Hello, Sean. How are you this week?
I'm doing great, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you, as always, for coming on the show. Let's talk about the Chiefs and how you feel about them based on what you saw on Sunday night in their 27-17 loss to the Denver Broncos, now as they prepare for another division matchup, this time at home against the San Diego Chargers.
You know what? There seems to be a lot of hate and almost bury a team that's 9-1, which is hard for me to believe. But you know what, guys? It turned out like I kind of thought it would. We've talked about it on the show many times that I think this is a really good football team. I didn't think it was the best team in the NFL, but I thought it was a dangerous team and a defensive team that could force turnovers and put you in position to win, and a quarterback who didn't get you beat. I'm a little surprised across the country at how people put it on Alex Smith when if somebody would have caught a handful of balls, they'd have been in a better position to win a football game. He did what he does. He manages it, and he kept it close and made some throws and had some people that didn't deliver when it mattered as far as catching the football. And I didn't think they could play catch up against a great team if you got down a little bit, and they got down 10-0. It was, I know what, 27-17 when it starts to creep towards 30. As we said, it would be difficult to play in that kind of game against a guy like Manning. And, guys, with all the flack the offense takes and as good as that defense is, if you don't put the number 18 on the ground, you're not going to win. I mean, it came down to that. We said it on the show last week that if you treat him like the Giants did against Brady, I think it was on the show we said it, Giants get against Brady and put him in the ground with, rushing 4 in those Super Bowls, then you got a really good shot. But it didn't happen. So if you don't have big plays in the offense and your superstar on your football team, meaning your defense, doesn't knock 18 to the ground, you're not going to win. And Denver did not play their best game, and Kansas City didn't either. But it's about like it was kind of validated what we thought. Not a great chase-down team against a good team. And it validated what I've been saying for about the last 6, 7, 8 years, is great quarterbacks, or should I say offenses sell tickets, offenses win championships, and great quarterbacks will keep you in every game and give you a chance to win every game. Does that mean that Alex Smith can't win games? No. But they better stay in front because they don't have enough explosiveness at a second wide receiver position. They can't lay the ball on the ground when it's put in their hands. So the Chiefs are very good, and they're going to be dangerous at home in 2 weeks against the Broncos again with that crowd, and they've got an advantage this week playing at home. So they could snatch 2 away and get right back where they want to be. But when you go on the road, you cannot miss out on big play opportunities. You cannot keep Peyton Manning standing upright. Denver's the better football team because they've got the better offense right now.
As quickly as Peyton got rid of the ball on Sunday, what could the Chiefs really have gotten to him?
No, but it's not even. I'm not even talking about sacks, guys. You got to hit him. I mean, it's 2.5 seconds. If you don't hit him, and you're not going to hit him and put him on the ground, then you sure as heck, because he does get rid of it. And it's not even just his release, guys. People talk about how quick his release is. That's one thing. It's his recognition to get the ball out of his hands so he anticipates coverage and routes. I mean, those guys, Aaron Rodgers has as quick a release as you'll ever see. Marino had one. It's about Peyton Manning, the ball comes out quick. The key for him is, as I've mentioned, is that he knows all 22 so well that his anticipation doesn't let you get to him. Even if you blitz him off the slot or inside blitzes, by the time you get to him, the ball's gone. And I've said many times since I've been at TV, it's not the sacks that matter; it's the hits that start to matter. But with about 5 minutes to go in the game, they had 2 hits on him and no knockdowns, none, no knockdowns. Guy's got to get his jersey dirty. And Kansas City, and I know how good Kansas City is because I'm still a believer. Some aren't. I am. But when it's the effect of that, and not big plays and drop footballs and not some, and allowing him enough chances and getting third downs. And then you play press man or man across the board with all those pick routes they run. If you're not going to get to him, and you're going to allow him to sit in there and do that and deliver the ball and get it out in front and let those guys run after the catch. And didn't we say last week they've got to change things up, beat them at their own game. You can't line up in the same coverage every time and let Manning see it. And they did. You can't line up and say, okay, it's a man. First of all, their receivers are big monsters and strong guys. They're going to beat you eventually. And I said, you got to play zone. You got to zone blitz. You got to play man. You got to play press man. You cannot line up in the same. I don't care what the coverage is. I don't care if you're dropping 4 or rushing 4, dropping 7, or rushing 8, or rushing 6, or rushing 7, or throwing hops or whatever. You cannot do the same thing the entire game. And when you do, he's going to get you, especially when you're not hitting him. And that's exactly what happened for the most part. They spent a lot of time playing man coverage and a lot of it press man, and the Broncos are going to beat you a lot of times unless you get to the quarterback. And when you're playing man coverage, what do people expect in blitzing? That eventually you're going to get to the quarterback quicker because defensive backs can only hold up and linebackers so long. They can only hold up so long before you're going to get before the quarterback's going to deliver the ball and make plays. And if he's a great quarterback, well, then they're going to and gets out quicker. Then they can only hold up that long. And so you've got to get some cumulative hits on him and get him to the ground. And I think they'll do some change-up pitch next time they play. But you cannot give him the same look. It's like giving a dead fastball hitter fastballs. Eventually, sooner or later, the guy's going to hit out of the ballpark. and you cannot keep giving him good pitches to hit. You can't keep giving him the same defense to look at because he'll get you.
Sean Salisbury is our guest. All right, Sean, the Chargers come to Arrowhead on Sunday, and the Chargers are 1-5 in games decided by 8 points or less. That's worse than the NFL. The Chiefs were 3-0 in those types of close games. Phillip Rivers is having a good season, but again, the Chargers keep losing these close games. You tell me what the Chiefs are facing with the San Diego Chargers coming to town.
Well, the Chargers are fundamentally they're wacko, and they've been like that. I've said probably for the last 5 years, I said when you go preseason, go into this season, the Chargers and the Cowboys are the same team. Good quarterbacks, potential to beat you. They could throw 400 yards on you, and then the next week throw balls. You'll say, well, what was he doing? You know, always on paper, people tell us how great they are. Oh, they've got this guy and that guy, and that some of the parts are pretty good, but the sum is not great. But, oh, man, they're dangerous. We hear all these same words. Oh, look out this year. Prognosticators could go deep in the playoffs, Super Bowl caliber team. I hear it all the time. I've heard it for those two teams for the last 6 to 8 years, and it's the same thing all the time. 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, take your butt home come playoff time. And the Chargers are the same way. I know it's a new coach, and he's a good football coach, but they're the same way. You've got a running back who's a beast when he's healthy. You've got a quarterback who can carry on his back and beat you, and he can do it against Kansas City if they don't. The difference is the ball comes out pretty quick, but not quite as quick as Peyton Manning. He'll hold it longer, and he'll throw it to the other team because he's going to try to stick a couple balls in there when there's double coverage or 3 guys in the same area. That's what he does. And he's spectacular sometimes, and sometimes he's not. So I fully expect the Chiefs to win the football game. It won't be easy, but it all comes down to one guy. Is Phillip Rivers going to be hot, or is it going to be cold? And Kansas City will dictate that in the football game for the most part. And they'll do what they do. They'll control the football, run it. They can make big plays against the Chargers. You've always been able to do that. So Chargers are a strange team. Like I said, it's like this team in Dallas I see all the time. I'm not quite sure what team's going to show up. They'll go on a 2-game winning streak, and you'll shake your head and say, man, are they good? It's like they did earlier in the year. And then all of a sudden, you're like, well, what? Who's that team I'm watching? And they don't close. They haven't closed games in years unless Phillip has one of those games. And there's nothing different about them this year other than a new rapper and a new football coach. It's the same mistakes they've made the last few years. I like the Chiefs in this, and I like the Chiefs to continue to build momentum and give us in 2 weeks another monster game. And I'm not quitting on the Kansas City Chiefs. All they got to do is not give the Chargers a short field and make sure Phillip Rivers doesn't have one of those days where you're like, wow, that guy's a superstar. And they'll beat San Diego at home.
And look, the Chiefs, if they win this game, could have, once again, a 1-game lead when Denver comes to town because Denver has a very tough game at New England on Sunday Night Football. What do you think of this matchup?
Right, and you know what? It's a great point. And remember, the Patriots are a bit drained. Night game. Been complaining about refs all week, and they should have. It was a horrible call. And we can get on refs another thing. How come we can cut players when they don't do very well, but when the refs screw up like they do all the time, they keep coming back, getting their job, and don't have to answer the media in the post-game press conference? Why officials don't have to address the media in the post-game press conference is a joke. That's why conspiracy theories make you wait. Well, they don't have to answer. Why? And then you start to think, well, is this game fixed? It's crazy. When they miss it, you start to ask these questions. Makes normal football purists think crazy crap. So awful. And so the Patriots drained there. They got to play the best quarterback on the planet right now. Denver's feeling confident. The Patriots are beat up and banged up with all their players, although they're getting a little healthier offensively, and they missed some opportunities. So the Patriots are going to be angry. So they could very easily win the football game and get them right back there. Even though the Broncos are confident, the Patriots don't lose 2 in a row very often. And so, Belichick will have them ready, and Manning and Brady matchup. We've seen that many times over the years. I will not shock me if the Patriots win this game. We come back to Arrowhead for another monster championship caliber game, fighting for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So I would fully expect if I was the Chiefs that that's the position they're going to be in. And then they're going to get an angry Bronco team next week who won't lose 2 in a row very often either. So what are they going to do to combat that? That's my thought process. I would expect them to get the Denver Broncos at their best after a game that the New England Patriots have won. And they've gone back to the drawing board. That's the way I think, so I know what I'm getting when Manning and group come to town in 2 weeks, or well, basically in less than a week now, or a little over a week, should I say now.
Sean, I look at your Twitter account often because there are some tweets that will make me laugh out loud each week, and so I just wanted to highlight just one for our listeners. Jonathan Martin was seen on a college football game on the sideline. And you say laughing it up. You said getting paid his salary while he stays away from football and laughs it up on the college football sideline is theft. With the money Jonathan Martin is stealing each week, you wanted to know if he realized he could buy 10-pound shot puts and use them as balls because he needs them. Could you please elaborate?
I could do it. It's pretty self-explanatory. The guy needs to grow a pair, and with all that money he's stealing from getting a paycheck and standing on the sidelines hooting and hollering and laughing and having a good time. Oh, and by the way, watching his team get beat. I figured I'd throw that in for my USC Trojans. There's something fishy about this whole thing, guys, and there has been from the start. I think it goes to the fact that it validates, yes, incognito, overboard, the rest of it. But it didn't look too much like, this is my opinion, like a guy standing on the sidelines depressed. I know when people have gone through depression, and sometimes most people have for a day, for a week, for a month. Well, you're not staying on. I've been there. You pretty much become reclusive and stay away, especially when you're the one who brought it up and walked out on your team. And now you're standing on the sidelines. It looked like you went back with his college buddies and moved in with mom and dad. I'm not buying it, okay? I'm not buying it one bit. The guy's collecting almost $35,000 a week and texting and having fun on the sidelines. I'm not buying it. Didn't look like a depressed guy to me, and he is stealing money. If you're going to walk away from the team, then you just turn right around and give them your paycheck because you don't deserve it. Get your butt back to the locker room. I don't want to hear about it. I know incognito went overboard, but apparently Jonathan Martin's going overboard too. And, yes, he needs to go buy 20-pound set of balls so he can show up and show his teammates that he means business, okay? Grow a pair, spend some money, and get back in the locker room the way you're supposed to. You didn't look that distressed to me. Does that explain it pretty well for you?
I think we got it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Sean. We appreciate it. Tell us the website again where people can check it out.
Everydamndown.com, and there's, like I said, I'll be putting some TV stuff up there and start writing blogs every month once hopefully December hits, just finalizing a few things. But the clothes on there, love the logo, and anything that happens in the month of December, every shirt that's purchased, all the money will go to families to give themselves a chance to have Santa Claus delivered to their house. All the money in December will go. I'm not going to take a penny of it for anything else but making a difference with somebody's Christmas so they have an opportunity to see Santa Claus for those kids and have a chance to eat on Christmas Day. So that's what we'll do. And you get a good shirt with a fun logo in the process. And if you guys saw, as you guys did, every single week, if you don't play every damn down, you got no shot to win. And the Chiefs, are case in point, they'll get a chance to prove that again in 2 weeks against the Denver Broncos.
Sean, thank you for the time.
Guys, I appreciate you. Good luck, and good luck Sunday against those Chargers.
That's right. The Chiefs hosting the Chargers. Another win, and hopefully a Patriots win over the Broncos will make that game even bigger in, about 9 days at Arrowhead Stadium. But this one's big, too, on Sunday. Back after this on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot. This is the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty with Aaron Swartz and Jake Gutierrez. I'm looking at these stats, NFL game notes. Tell me if this, I guess it's right. I mean, these are impeccable stats, right? You swear by them, Jake Gutierrez? You stand behind these?
Are those my CBS stats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the
100%.
Bring Gary Lezak. Gary Lezak, you want to hear a shocking fact about this game between the Chiefs and Chargers?
I want to hear a shocking fact, of course.
You got a shocker for Gary right now.
I'm ready.
Gotta give him the shocker.
I'm ready.
I don't like the way you guys talk.
We want this statistic.
I want the shocker.
I don't think I'm going to give it to you.
Give him the shocker.
Let's go.
When was the last time the Chiefs were favored over the Chargers in a game?
The last time the Chiefs were favored over the Chargers?
Yeah.
They should have been favored over the Chargers about 6 times in the last 6 years, but they've lost a lot of games against them.
Now, going into a game was the last time.
Well, obviously you have to guess it's been 20 years because you're like going a shocker.
I don't think it was 20 years.
Not last 2 years. I know that much. All right about that part?
I'll say 6 years.
Jake?
I'll say early 2000s, 2002.
I'd say Marty years, 1998.
He's read through the stats, hasn't he?
No, it's not 200002. I was going to say the damn team was 13-3, and you don't think they were favored in 2003?
Maybe.
He was maybe.
Yeah.
2006.
Wow.
I was 1 year off.
2006?
Does that surprise you, or?
That does.
It's not like the Chargers have been a juggernaut here the last couple of years.
All right.
Wow.
So.
That's just shocking.
It's a shocker.
Oh, shut up, Gary.
Gary, I'm going to be on a football field tonight doing a football game, refereeing a football game. How cold will it be?
Ouch. I gave a winter forecast last night, by the way, guys. We had 31, 32 inches of snow last year. 22 inches of snow is my forecast. So about 9 to 10 inches of snow lower than last year.
Would that be about average? What's our average winter?
20 inches.
So
but I do think it'll be a wet winter, so we're going to have some rain, some freezing rain. We had a little bit of ice last night, just a very small amount. I think we're going to have, more icing events this year. For tonight, for the high school football games, it's going to be cold. Obviously, bundle up. It'll be a little breezy, so wind chill factors will be in the teens, but about 29 to 30 degrees for those games tonight. Tomorrow, Sporting, KC needs to win. Playoff game, huge atmosphere out there, out near the Legends. Should be fantastic, but cold. In the teens, 19 to 20, maybe 22 at kickoff, so ouch. And then tailgating on Sunday, 12 to 13 degrees in the morning.
Burr.
I know, a little breeze as well, so the wind chill factor will be 0. But the sun will be out. If you're on the sunny side, I'm expecting a high in the 30s, so it'll feel like about 45, 8 degrees by the end of the game out there. But if you're in the shade,
chilly.
It's going to be cold. But sunny, beautiful weekend heading our way. Right now it's cloudy. There may be a snowflake or two. I haven't seen any. And it's all over. This storm's out of here. Today's high only 34 degrees. So there's your forecast. I'll be listening for more shocking.
Right. There we go.
We need a bigger shocker than that.
No, really?
Yeah, we do. We really do.
Well, Jake has bigger hands, so.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, have a fantastic weekend. It's Friday. Love Foreigner. It's as cold as ice outside. And here is Ryan Wiebe.
Thanks, Gary. Home values are rebounding. Why not put your home's equity to work for you? Give my team a call at 816-778-7000 or visit us at firstmortgagekc.com and fill out a full online application.
Back after this on WHB and 38 The Spot. Welcome back to the Border Patrol on Sports Radio 810 WHB and 38 The Spot. That's all for the simulcast on 38 Spot. For the day and for the week, thank you for watching. The show continues now on Sports Radio 810 WHB with our Border Patrol Blitz. We've also got Frank Bowl coming up and more. Keep listening on WHB.